What if Coraline had made the darkest choice possible in the other world? That's the question driving today's episode of What If? Just picture it for a second. What if she had said yes to the other mother's offer and allowed buttons to be sewn into her eyes? What if Coraline had given in to the temptation? In the original story, her cleverness and willpower were her salvation. But in this alternate path, she surrenders and everything changes. The seemingly perfect life she was promised becomes more than just a trap. By accepting the buttons, Coraline doesn't just lose her sight, she gives up her very identity. That small act represents something much deeper, complete submission to the other mother's control. In this darker version, we follow a new storyline, one where Coraline descends into a nightmare with no way out. The choice she once rejected now becomes the moment that seals her fate, a fate far more disturbing and terrifying than we ever saw on screen. At this point in the alternate timeline, the other mother is more powerful than ever. She dominates the other world with terrifying precision, bending its reality to her will and preying on Coraline's emotions. By accepting the buttons, Coraline becomes trapped in a cycle of illusions crafted by the other mother, a psychological maze where she's forced to relive distorted, nightmarish versions of her real-life memories. Each twisted reenactment pulls her further from the possibility of escape. As time passes in this false reality, Coraline begins to notice chilling changes in herself. Her skin grows pale, her movements slow down, and a constant draining heaviness begins to weigh on her body, like her life force is fading away. Bit by bit, she realizes the horrifying truth. She's becoming just like the other trapped souls, a ghost of herself. The children she once tried to save now treat her as one of their own. They whisper eerie secrets in the dark, sharing cryptic warnings about the other mother and the terrors of this place. None of them remember their pasts anymore. Their identities have faded into the shadows, and Coraline starts to wonder how long it will be before her own memories vanish too. The fear that takes hold isn't just about being stuck there, it's about losing herself completely. Yet even with buttons for eyes and a fading body, Coraline's will to fight remains. She tries to rally the other children for one final escape attempt, convinced that together, they might discover a weakness in the other mother's power. But the bond between the buttons and this world runs too deep. The other mother always seems to be one step ahead, anticipating Coraline's every move and tightening her grip with each passing moment. Despite the terrifying changes overtaking her body and the overwhelming control of the other mother, Coraline refuses to give up. Fueled by a relentless urge to escape, she begins to search the darkest, most hidden corners of the other world, hoping to find an exit or some artifact that might undo the curse now binding her. But her ghost-like condition brings new obstacles. Her movements are sluggish, a constant fatigue drains her strength, and every time she ventures too far, the buttons sewn into her eyes pulse with a sinister energy, as if warning her that she's still under the other mother's gaze. Even so, Coraline pushes forward. Her desire to reclaim her freedom and help the other children drives her to revisit once familiar places. But nothing is as she remembers. The garden, once magical, is now twisted and lifeless. The bright hallways have become cold and threatening. Even the toys that once filled her with joy now lurk in the shadows, transformed into spies ready to alert the other mother at the slightest sign of rebellion. Gradually, Coraline realizes the true nature of her imprisonment. It's not just physical, it's psychological. The illusions are so deeply embedded that she starts to question whether the real world still exists at all. Has it faded away, or did her choice seal her fate beyond repair? In a desperate bid for freedom, Coraline begins searching the other mother's hidden spaces, digging for clues, secrets, anything that might weaken the bond between her and the buttons. But every failed attempt chips away at her hope, reinforcing the dread that no matter how strong her spirit remains, she may already be part of this place, consumed piece by piece by the darkness of the other world. As Coraline slowly, though unwillingly, adjusts to the rules of the other world, the other mother tightens her grip with terrifying precision. Coraline is no longer just a captive, she's being reshaped to serve a darker purpose. Under the entity's direct control, she's forced into the role of a perfect host, smiling, welcoming, and unknowingly luring in new souls to be trapped just like her. The buttons in her eyes have evolved into more than mere symbols of surrender. They now function as surveillance tools, windows through which the other mother watches her every move and manipulates her emotions. Coraline can no longer feel genuine happiness or hope. Each time she tries to fight back or remember her parents, she's punished with horrific hallucinations, twisted images of her family back in the real world, warped to feed her guilt and despair. The entity is playing with her mind like a puppet master. Gradually, the boundaries of Coraline's memory begin to break down. Her perception of the real world becomes unreliable, almost dreamlike. She starts to wonder, was she ever truly free, or has she always been caught in this web? This mental disintegration brings Coraline to a painful crossroads, given completely to avoid further suffering, or keep resisting a prison that feels increasingly permanent. The struggle consumes her. The harder she fights, the more she feels herself dissolving into the very fabric of the other world. Now she faces the most agonizing choice of her existence: continue fighting for a freedom that may never return, or embrace her new identity as a hollow servant, a ghost molded by the will of a creature that never intended to let her go. Even if Coraline somehow manages to escape the grip of the other world, her return to the real world is far from a true victory. Coming back doesn't bring peace, only a different kind of unease. The buttons remain in place, stitched into her eyes, serving as a constant reminder of the bond she still shares with the other mother. The moment she steps back into her old life, she notices it immediately. The world looks faded, washed out, like a dull imitation of what it once was. Her parents welcome her home without noticing the subtle but chilling changes. To them, Coraline appears unchanged. But inside she knows something is wrong. They can't see the buttons, nor can they sense the looming presence that follows her. Coraline realizes that, while her body has returned, her spirit is still partially tethered to the other world. There's a constant emotional distance, joy feels hollow, and human connection slips further out of reach. Each night brings fresh torment. Sleep becomes a gateway for the other mother to infiltrate her thoughts. Coraline is haunted by relentless nightmares, forced to relive the moment she agreed to wear the buttons, over and over again. These aren't just memories, they're manipulations. The other mother whispers promises of relief, tempting Coraline to come back and surrender completely, claiming it would end the pain. With time, Coraline sees the truth: she never really escaped. The mental link to the other world remains active, like a chain she can't break. She finds herself unable to engage with life as she once did. Everything feels distant, blurred, disconnected. And the buttons, they still function. Through them, Coraline catches glimpses of the other mother's face, in mirrors, in glass, even in puddles on the street. She's not free. She's just living in a quieter kind of prison, one that no one else can see, but that traps her just the same. Coraline now exists between two realities, physically back in her world, but emotionally bound to the other. Her life has become fragmented, a version of herself caught in limbo. All she can do is resist the constant pull of the other mother and search for a way to undo the dark pact that keeps her tethered to that twisted realm. Still, the question lingers: can she ever truly break free, or has the other world become a permanent part of her? But there's an even darker possibility. What if Coraline never escaped at all? In this alternate outcome, every attempt to flee fails, and the other world fully absorbs her. Over time, her soul erodes, her identity fades, and she becomes just another lost spirit in the other mother's collection. A ghost with no past, no voice, no trace of who she once was. Back in the real world, her parents realize she's gone and launch a frantic search for answers. It mirrors the fate of Wybie's grandmother's sister, mentioned in the film, another child who vanished without explanation. Coraline would become one more tragic mystery, leaving her family in a state of quiet devastation. Their grief would echo the pain that haunted Wybie's grandmother. The house, already strange and unsettling, would take on a darker legend, known now as Cursed. Coraline's name would slip into local lore, told in hushed tones as the girl who vanished without a trace, and who, some say, might still be trapped somewhere, watching, waiting, lost in a world no one else can see. So, do you think Coraline will ever truly break free? Or is the other world a trap no one ever really escapes from? If you enjoyed diving into this dark alternate reality, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. And of course, click the video on the screen right now to keep exploring more chilling theories and haunting stories. I'll see you there.